Hey, it's Derek Clark here. So today I want to talk about horses who ignore your leg aids, and the reason why I want to talk about that is, well, it's actually pretty much the number one question that we get asked, and it's also one that we see people looking for answers to online pretty much all the time. And it's something we've probably all experienced at one time or another. Maybe you want your horse to go forward or lengthen your strides, or maybe you ask for a transition and your horse just doesn't respond to a light leg aid. So you end up repeating it and having to maybe kick to get any kind of a reaction, maybe several times. And that's just no fun at all for either of you. In fact, as you probably know, it gets really tedious really quickly and it's pretty exhausting. Now, we all know that a nice riding horse should be light to the aids. That fantastic dream of a horse who goes frankly forward off a tiny hint from your legs, and then he'll keep going all by himself until you ask for something different. And if that's not your horse right now, well, you may be wondering how to get them to be more attentive, listening to your soft leg aids and responding to you so you don't have to kick or nag to get whatever you want. And there are a lot of myths and quick fixes that get thrown around about what you should do, like giving your horse a sharp whack or two with a whip, or using sharp spurs, or maybe even giving the good old pony club kick, as if, it's just perfectly fine to boot your horse in the ribs anytime you're having a problem. But these ideas don't sit well with a lot of riders these days, and what's more, they're actually not necessary. So instead of doing anything like that, I want to take a step back and have a think about the problem so we can really get into what's going on. Now, whenever you give any aid from your legs, your hands, or even your seat for that matter, horses can react to it in one of three different ways. Now, either they respond and do exactly what you hoped for, or they might resist and work against you, or they might even ignore your aid altogether. And of course, we all want them to respond and not resist. And I will talk about what to do if your horse does resist against any of your aids in another video. But there can be quite a few different reasons why any horse might ignore you. And one thing I hope you'll recognise is that it's almost certainly not because your horse just wants to be naughty and disobey you so they can make you look stupid. And if you've ever thought that in the past, then it's okay, I understand. But hear me out. Because it could be that your horse is finding it impossible to do what you've asked because he was getting conflicting signals. For example, you might be blocking with your hands at the same time as asking with your legs. And this mistake is a lot more common than you might imagine. Now, it could be that your horse doesn't actually understand how you want him to respond, because horses aren't born understanding what leg aids mean, and maybe no one's ever really explained them to him. And very often it can be because you've accidentally trained your horse to ignore you, usually by repeating aids that have already been ignored for one of the other reasons. So if your horse does ignore your leg aid, here's what I recommend. Don't just repeat or escalate your aids by giving them a kick or a whack and hoping that things will work better next time. It's much more effective to take a moment out from doing whatever you had in mind and actually fix the problem properly. Now, you want to go right back to basics and break it down into some really simple steps. Firstly, set both of you up for success by making sure that the front door is open and that you're pointing in a direction where your horse is going to be happy to go. Now, then you ask for what you want just once using a light but clear and consistent aid. And then you either praise and reward your horse as soon as you get a response, or use an acceptable way to create what you wanted, like swishing a stick in the air to create more energy, and then you can reward your horse when they do what you wanted, as if they've responded perfectly. And you can repeat this little lesson of the leg, as it's called, maybe 2 or 3 times, so you're sure that your horse understands what you want, and that it's possible for him to do it before you go back to trying whatever else it was that you actually wanted to do. And because we're dealing with living, feeling, thinking creatures, the means that we use to create what we wanted is just as important, if not more so, than the end result that you get. So we work from a set of principles that we call R.E.A.L dressage, R-E.A.L. Now, the R stands for respect, because it's essential to be respectful of your horse's mind, body and spirit if you actually want to establish and maintain a relationship that's based on trust, not fear or domination. The E is for effective, so you can actually solve any problems that you come up against and make the progress that you want. The A stands for adaptable, so your riding and training works for you and your individual horse without you having to resort to forceful aids or gadgets of any kind. And the L is for logical, so everything makes sense to you and you can make sense to your horse. And real dressage gives you ethical ways to solve problems and develop your riding so you can have a happy and cooperative horse who loves to be ridden and does everything you ask with ease and enthusiasm. If you'd like to learn more about how to do that, click the link around this video and get on the priority waitlist for our upcoming free masterclass. Places are limited though, so click the link now and we'll make sure that you're the first to know when we open registration.